Hey, in this video, we're going to cover the JSTL internationalization and formatting tags. So the main objective here is that we actually want to apply internationalization. So we actually want to build a multilingual application. So again, we want to build an app where we can change to different languages without having to modify the source code. So here's an example of the sample app we're going to create. So we'll show the user the basic information using English based in the US. Then we'll give them a link where they can choose, change the language to Spanish. And then finally, we'll give them another link where they can change it to view the information in German. And I'll show you how to build all of this code in this video and also the following video. So basically what we'll do is we'll cover the overview, like the slides and the background on it in this video. The following video will actually get our hands dirty and write the code in Eclipse. But don't worry, you'll see everything on how it's all built out. So the big picture here is that we're going to make use of placeholders in our page. So instead of hard coding the text, we're going to have placeholders, one for greeting, first name, last name, and welcome message. And depending on the language that we're using or the locale that we're using, we'll simply insert the appropriate data. So for example, if we're using Spanish, we'll put in the Spanish greeting for hola, the Spanish information for first name, last name, and the Spanish welcome message of buenos dias. And again, my rough interpretation there of Spanish. But anyway, you get the idea. And I'll show you how to pull all this together. All right. And again, you know how love to code. Shad Darby works. I love to-do lists. So the first thing we'll do is create our resource files. The second thing is creating our JSP page with labels. Step 3 is to update the JSP page to change the locale based on user selection. All right. So a lot of good things here. Let's go ahead and dig in. All right, so step 1 is creating the resource files. So what we have to do is create translated versions of our labels. So you'll need to make use of a separate service like maybe Google Translate or hire a translator. You basically have to give the translated versions of your labels. Now, there's no magic here. Java will not automatically translate your application. You'll have to specify that translated information. All right. Now, this information is all based on locales. So what's a locale? A locale is basically a combination of the language code and the country code. So it's more than just the language because there could be differences for a language depending on your country. So, for example, we have English based in the US and also English based in Great Britain. And there are differences between the two as far as the vernacular and also differences between formatting dates, time, and currency, and so on. So locale is what we'll be looking at. So again, locale is a combination of language code and country code. All right, step 1, creating the resource file. So when you create the resource file, the file must follow a specific naming convention here. So you give your project name underscore a language code underscore a country code dot properties. And here's some examples. So I have my labels underscore ES for Spanish underscore ES caps for Spain dot properties. So again, language code, country code. A similar thing here for German for Germany and English, Great Britain. All right. So that's the file name. Now a little bit more here on the country codes and language codes. They're all based on ISO standards. So the language codes are based on ISO standard 639-1. It's basically the 2-letter language code. And the country codes are also based on ISO standard 3166-2, which again is a 2-letter country code. And you can follow those links there for details on codes for your specific country and language. All right, now let's kind of get down to the nitty-gritty. So here's the file for the locale Spanish, Spain. So I need to create my file, my labels underscore ES for Spanish underscore cap ES for Spain dot properties. And in this file, I need to give the appropriate information. So for label.greeting, I'll say hola. Label.first name, I have the information there. A similar thing for label.last name. And finally, label.welcome for buenos dias, so on. So that's the idea. Now, again, you need to manually create these files by using either Google Translate or hiring a translator to help you out with building out the properties file. But again, you have to provide this data for the Java system. All right, so now we have the label information taken care of. Now we need to use these labels in our JSP. This is step 2. So basically what we do is we make use of the JSTL tag library format. We say format : message, and then we give the key, and we simply give our label name. So that label name is from the properties file. So label.greeting, actually JSP will insert that label.greeting there for that given locale. Label.firstname, it'll insert the information, label.lastname, and label.welcome. So again, based on the locale that the user selected, JSP will actually substitute that value right there. So you'll get the information for English or Spanish or German or whatever country or locale that you've selected for your application. All right, so that's the resource files. Now the next step is step 3, updating the JSP page to change the locale based on the user selection. So basically what we'll do on our app is that we'll put links at the top of the page where the user can choose their language or locale. And basically they'll select these links and we'll simply just send it back as a link to ourselves, and we'll pass the locale as a parameter, and then we can read that param and then load the appropriate resource file or resource bundle. So that's basically how we'll do it. This is kind of plain vanilla. We could dress it up with, flag images and so on, but here, just kind of get the point so far. So the coding for these links here, we just set up an href. So we have anchor href. We point to our JSP page, and then in red, we say the locale equals, and then we give that locale en_US or ES for Spanish or DE for German. And that's basically it. That sets up the link. Now on the next slide, I'll show you how to kind of pull it all together, but this part of it just sets up the links at the top of our page. All right, so we have the links coming in. So now in this page, we're basically going to read those links and set the values accordingly for the locale. So we can access the link values that were set or selected by the user by using param.thelocale. And on the second line here, we check the value to see if it's not empty, then we'll use param.thelocale. And that came from that href link. Now, in the event that that value is empty or not available, then our else clause here will make use of pagecontext.request.locale. So every HTTP web request that comes in, the web browser will send the default locale based on the user's operating system. So the bottom line here is that we'll be able to find out what locale the user wants to use. And we'll set that as a variable. So c:set var equals the locale. We'll have a reference to that, and we'll keep it in our session for later use. Now, the next set of lines here, format.setLocale, we actually set the locale and we give it a value. So normally, folks would hard code it with a given locale like en_US, but here we're using it based on that variable that we set up in the previous line. And then finally, we tell the JSP page which resource bundle to use. So here we say set bundle, we give the base name. So that means the base name of the file, and then JSP will append the appropriate locale and load the appropriate properties files that you can use in this page. And that's all handled here. So that's the little magic there as far as reading that properties file based on the appropriate locale that the user selected. All right, good stuff so far. All right, so what I wanted to do here is I wanted to give you an overview of kind of how that development process worked out. What we're going to do is move into the next video, and we'll actually get our hands dirty, and I'll show you how to build all of this from scratch in the Eclipse IDE. But I at least wanted to give you some of the theory, some of the concepts first, and we can actually go through and apply it in the next video. So I'll see you there.